Warhammer 40k Darktide released in 2022 to a tremendous reception, but over the span of just 2 months, bugs that made the game nearly unplayable and a severe lack of content drove 90% of the player base away. With that being said, in 2026, Darktide is now one of the best first-person co-op horde games in the gaming industry, and it's on the right track to becoming the best Warhammer 40k game as well. So who's still playing this game, why are we still playing this game, and should you play this game? One of the best things about Darktide is that it was created by Warhammer 40k fans for Warhammer 40k fans. If you already happen to be a 40k fan, then you probably recognize that Darktide is the best representation of what it feels like to navigate a hive city in any 40k game. And if you're not a 40k fan, then this is a great introduction to the grittiness and grimdark that the Warhammer 40k universe represents as a whole. Poxwalkers that beg you to help or even kill them whenever you're cleaving through them in hordes, or servitors that are trapped in walls, forced to just heal players and be checkpoints as players walk through and then forget about them. Aside from this, Darktide is just one of the best co-op games in the entire industry, so playing it with friends is going to be a really good time, but that doesn't take away from the solo co-op experience either. With that being said, if you're looking for a traditional single-player experience, then Darktide is not the game for you. Whenever you're playing solo, the game does a good job of matching you with other players in nearly every activity that the game has to offer until you get to end game content. This is a massive benefit for the game as the developers are able to balance every mission so that co-op elements actually matter. Rescuing one another, focusing down important targets, and coordinating ability usage is crucial for success in Darktide. And if you're not a 40k fan and you have no interest in becoming a 40k fan and you have no interest in the co-op game experience, then what does this game have to offer you? Even if you're not interested in any of these other aspects of the game still has one of the best first-person combat gameplay sandboxes in the entire industry. There's only one other horde game that feels as smooth and as responsive as Darktide feels, and that's Vermintide 2, which was made by the same company. So the intended audience for this game is actually quite a wide variety of people, but why are we still playing this game in 2026? Nearly every core system that was included in Darktide's release back in 2022 has been reworked. In addition to overhauling player progression, class customization, loot, and the entire crafting system, the game is now bigger than ever, with 4 different game modes, 7 classes with no intentions to stop making classes, over 60 weapon families with who knows how many individual weapon types, and we just keep getting more content. Specifically, this content comes in the form of 5 different things: classes, weapons, game modes, maps, and enemies. The game has 4 base classes and 3 DLC classes, with the base game classes being the Veteran, Zealot, Psyker, and Ogryn, and the DLC classes being the Arbitrator, Hivescum, and the newly released or releasing Skitarii. The classes cover a variety of different playstyles, from playing the game as a traditional first-person shooter to playing the game as a space wizard. Additionally, the developers are always introducing new weapons, or more importantly, going back and tweaking old weapons to bring them in line with the weapons that they're introducing, or to bring them in line with whatever the flavor of the month is. There will always be a best weapon or a meta build for every class, but there exists enough flexibility in the game to allow you to run effectively whatever you want to run. If you want to fulfill your fantasy of joining the Astra Militarum and wielding an infantry lasgun, then nothing is stopping you. Just bring crack grenades. Whether you're bringing a lasgun or a bolt pistol with you, the game offers several game modes and maps to test them in, and several enemies to test them on. In Darktide, there are 4 different game modes. The base game, which is the classic co-op horde shooter mission experience. Havoc, which is the end game variant of that experience, Mortis Trials, which is a horde mode with randomized modifiers that help the player do some pretty crazy things, and Expeditions. Expeditions are Darktide's newest mode, and they represent something pretty ambitious in the co-op horde shooter genre in that they introduce extraction shooter elements to the game. Currently, my favorite thing about the game mode is the new enemy that released with it, the Ogryn Packmaster and his armored dogs. Expeditions is still relatively new, and Fatshark is still determining how the game mode is going to mature. I look forward to seeing what direction they take with it. I really hope that they incorporate more roguelite elements like they did for the Chaos Wastes in Vermintide 2. I would really love to see effectively a roguelite extraction in Darktide. That would be amazing. But let's say that you've really honed in on a specific playstyle and a specific game mode that you're really looking to master. For example, let's say you're looking to push to Havoc 40 and you want to do it on an arbitrator using a dog build because you like pet classes and that's what you want to do. This is where you might start running into a couple of issues whenever it comes to replayability, because if you're expecting new content in the form of maps or new enemies, then this is where you're really going to be trickle-fed that kind of content. Whenever a new map or enemy is added to the game, it's a pretty big deal because it shapes how the game is played. For example, when Havoc was first introduced, it didn't really offer anything other than souped up gunners, and so they were really all you had to plan around when it came to consecutive playthroughs of the game mode. But then the game mode was revamped and it introduced captains, the Karnak twins in the form of lieutenants, and weakened monsters or monstrous specialists. This fresh injection of enemies made Havoc the extremely replayable, fun, and adrenaline-fueled game mode that it is today. So fingers crossed, the developers are already working on porting the Ogryn Packmaster and his armored dags over to the base game so that we can see them appear in Havoc as well. With all that being said, should you play this game? Is Darktide worth playing in 2026? Without factoring in Expeditions, Mortis Trials, or Havoc, if you're just looking at the base game and the various classes that the game has to offer, that's already hundreds to thousands of hours of content. Based solely off of that, and the fact that it's never a bad time to hop into Darktide, this game isn't a traditional live service game with seasons and battle passes, I would definitely say that Darktide is worth playing in 2026. Now, if you're a returning player, your mileage is going to vary depending on when you put the game down. The Skitaria release alone is enough to get me all hyped up and ready to play the game for another 1,000 hours, but that's mostly because I'm a huge 40k fan. Lastly, if you can't stand FOMO cosmetic microtransactions, then this is probably not the game for you because that's how Darktide is funded. I hope this video was useful for you. As always, I appreciate your viewership. This has been Jefficus. The Emperor Protects.